So thank you, Sheena. How we navigate this is going to be super important, because I feel that this is going to be either really bad for some of us or really good for some of us, and it kind of is like, it depends on everyone's scenario, current situation now. But I think no matter what, even if you're brand new and haven't done a single deal, you can still start to align yourself with people on this call or other investors to figure out what kind of value you can bring. Because the people who are going to be playing in this market are going to need help, like now, because they're going to, for some, it's slow times. They're going to sit on the sidelines, take a break until things shake themselves out. But the guys who are going to still be playing, which hopefully is all of us, like they're going to need partners. They're going to need help, extra hands on deck, and resources from all over. Like our friend who's an investment banker, I don't know why I never thought about tapping his shoulder, recently, to see how he's doing, and how we can work together. But after he's initially talking about, all the pain that's going on in his business and with his clients. His answer, because I asked him, so what's the next move? Like, what are you guys gonna do? And he said, man, well, there is only one thing to do. And he says, double down and go in and buy some real estate. Right. So he's in the finance sector. And this is what I talk about when we talk about you got to know what street you play on, right? Wall Street or Main Street. And so he's a Wall Street player, and but still, like when there's times of like correction or housing recession, like the guys even with the money are looking at real estate, so that's what we're going to do in Vegas too. Keone, are you going to Ignite? How's it, bro?
What's up, brother? You know what, man? I can't make it. I was actually planning on to until they told me the date. I got a huge family party that we're planning for next week. So, unfortunately, no, bro.
Oh, no worries, dude. Well, we're gonna find out like how, because before there was like 5,000 people. Like the Ignite event was huge, so it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, they moved it up. That's why, right? It was supposed to always be in December. Yep. Obviously, they've been out for the last 3 years, but they decided to come back, and then they come back Veterans Weekend in November. So, yeah, that'll be interesting one. I mean, so it should be solid though. I mean, I saw that Manti Te'o is actually going to be one of the keynotes, so that'll be cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think there's a Raiders game too that weekend. Nice. I don't know. Some people were excited about that, but
I feel
Raiders. I don't know. What are you? Wait.
Niners, baby. Bang,
Niners,
bang.
Yeah. So I feel like there were less events, 3-4 years ago. They were kind of like the big event that everybody went to because nobody else was putting on events. And then the Ryan Pineda starting putting on events every quarter. So then like that just means less people will go to theirs. But I will say I've been to not like I have experience, but I feel like Ignite is extremely organized.
Yeah.
And then we just went to the Bigger Pockets one. They very much replicated what Ignite is, just at a way smaller scale. They maybe had I don't know how many people they had, but yeah, Ignite for the kind of big event that it is, like with the attendance, they're so organized.
Yeah,
it's really I was super impressed.
Yeah, me too.
I think Cole Hatter is putting on his one this weekend. Actually, the Real Estate Domination is another one in Vegas that's happening. I think today, tomorrow, and this weekend. So that's another huge one. They got a bunch of keynotes as well, speaking. Yeah, so it's popping, man.
Yeah, there's a bunch of conferences in Vegas this week, I think. But Bigger Pockets is sponsoring Pitbull, actually, I saw. So that's cool. Good to see them down there. But okay, so does anybody have, let's jump into leads, needs, and good deeds. Anybody have anything they need in times like these? Cash?
Hey, Corey.
Is it okay if I say something?
Joe, yeah, absolutely,
Hey,
dude.
how's it?
How's it
How's
going,
it,
man?
everyone? I'm Joe. So my background's actually in appraisal, specifically with commercial real estate. And as an appraiser, like our job is to observe and to interpret kind of the market and what's happening. And I think one thing that I've noticed is for entrepreneurs and for real estate, it's a beautiful asset. It's a beautiful company or business because while Apple might one day, well, probably won't, probably not Apple, but it might become obsolete, right? There might be something else, some other kind of new technology or something that'll come out that'll be better. But real estate, it'll always be there and it'll always be a need. And when times like this happen where things are plummeting or crashing or it doesn't seem to be going right, the ones who find success, it's a beautiful time to really make the most because the success of an entrepreneur is taking a problem and finding a way to solve it. And I know when COVID hit, a lot of office spaces were tanking because everybody was working from home. So who wants to have an office? Who wants to have an office space? So all these vacancies are going up, but then there were other entrepreneurs who would get that at a discount and they would convert it to like, I don't know, some kind of virtual space or for gaming or, that kind of a thing. So I think now is a really great time personally, just to find new ways of doing things. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say is.
I couldn't agree more. And when you mentioned Apple, right? It's hard to imagine a world without Apple. But
Yeah.
the difference between real estate and investing in businesses is businesses they call them entities because they become its own entity, its own being, right? And just like us, it has a life cycle. Some is a long time, and some is very short, right? But the business will be birthed and it will die eventually. It's just a matter of when and how long they're going to be in business. It's going to be alive for, right? All businesses have life cycles. Real estate, it's tangible. It's not a living being. It's real estate. It's good, so I agree with you on that. And Joe, actually, I don't know if the idea is actually going to become a reality, and if so, I got your back, and maybe we tell the group now that, guys, Joe has been thinking about forming a meetup on the windward side in Kailua, and I told him, you know what, dude, like I'll be there, because I live in Kailua, and I want to support Joe. He's an entrepreneur, and he just took the leap, burned the ships. So we gotta support them, and I think actually starting a meetup and gathering people, especially in these times when people want to know hear from people who are in the same realm, is not only something that's necessary and needed for our community, but I think it'll do wonders for you too, Joe, so because we should gather people together and more often, I feel so.
Thank you.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have a meetup on the windward side of Oahu with Joe.
It's coming soon.
Yes, sir. Awesome. Cool. Anybody else have anything? Leads, needs, good deeds?
Be quiet. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
wanted to tell you guys, so I'm sure like 90% of you guys have like good bookkeeping, but I got a big reality check by going with like a friend who was doing it on the side, and I just had like this ARIA, like real estate investor specific bookkeeper review all my books, and like everything is wrong. So they're gonna review it, and I'm like having to pay such a fat fee just to clean up the books, and it's gonna take over 30 days to clean up the books. So that was one thing. I don't know, just wanted to share that, like get a good bookkeeper from the beginning, because either they're cheap now and you're gonna pay a fat fee to clean that up, or you're just gonna pay for a good bookkeeper from the get-go and not have to clean up and spend 30 days gathering records. And then the other thing was a lender of mine that was Civic. They just because is it Joe Hernandez just talked about appraisals. We have like current comps on a property that we're trying to buy that are really, really good, but because they accepted my low offer, they are going to not go with the current comps, and they're just gonna appraise it at my offer price, which I didn't expect because obviously I'm trying to burr it. And anyway, so I'm just wanted to put that out there that even some lenders or some appraisers are adjusting values in that sense, because even though current comps are showing something else, they're just going with the value will come back at my offer. Just putting that out
Wait,
there.
so they're essentially using your purchase price as the comp for itself?
Is that
That's
Civic
poor
Tay?
practice, but
Yep, that is Civic.
Civic's been known to do that for a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been known to adjust values on appraisals that they get back, right? They'll do an internal valuation and they'll be like, hey, guys, actually, you know what? It says 900, but our internal valuation came back at 850. So for them, I really feel like it's an easy scapegoat for them to lower their leverages and their risks without
Yeah.
saying we're going to deny your loan. They'll just lower the leverage and then essentially the bad thing is they wait so long to do it that you don't really have enough time to pivot and take that deal somewhere else unless you can work out an extension.
so was your offer price a discounted price? Like the comps that you saw, did it seem like it was actually worth more?
Yeah, so my I think so not I think, but the comps, and I even went like the realtor and myself like went through everything, and I'm like, there's no way. So I offered quite low, and it's because the seller is extremely motivated, and they were just like, let's just get rid of it, right? Like a lot of sellers, I think right now. That's why I'm like, okay, cool, I can go in pretty low. So all of the comps are coming in at like the average of it all comes at 645,000. Current comps like sold in September and October, current comps. And my offer is at 530. So like I'm buying it, I feel like 100K below market value, current market value. So, but in their sort of like their defense or a lender's defense, I understand that the market will be different in probably 6 months, and things are shifting. So, but it was just, I didn't expect that low of an appraisal. So it is what it is. It's cool.
If you bug them enough, sometimes appraisers will if you sometimes if you bug them enough, you can get them to reconsider the comps.
I did, but
And
they won't. So what they do, I think, which is what Alex mentioned, was they send out an appraiser, and they tell the appraiser what my offer is. So the appraiser, I'm looking at the way that he finagled the numbers, and he used comps that were like 3 or 4 months older than what we have currently. So I'm like, okay, so the appraiser was just basically trying to match the offer price. And then after the appraiser's report comes in, then they have an internal evaluation department. So anyway, just something to be aware of. But I've been able to fight it, and they would increase it a little bit, but not a lot. But that being said, Kiko, we just ordered an appraisal with Kiko for Missouri fourplex, I think. So we'll see how that comes back.
Thanks, man.
For the appraisal side, some appraisers right now are actually putting into factor that the market is dropping. So that's probably why that you may have a low appraisal, that they're putting fact that the market is dropping, so they're doing that.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
But at the same time though, an appraisal is supposed to be as of a date of value. And so if it's like as of today's date and like 4 other properties just sold at this price, then as of today's date, it should be that. But if it's like if you're asking what the value is as of next year, then yeah, you know, like you can factor that in more. But as of today, as of right now, you know, it should be more accurate. But
Yeah, something
Just
doesn't sound.
learning, you know, just
Well,
No,
really
no, but
learning how.
when they're doing appraisals, there's a thing where they do the market evaluation where, you know, like they check like, you know, if the median of the price droppings and the median days on the market, and they put that all into factor of putting, you know, putting the appraisal price as well.
Yeah, and really, I'm just sharing. Like,
Yeah.
I
As
feel,
a
you know,
heads
we
up.
always roll with the punches. We just got to do what we got to
Mhm.
do. But yeah, I was really surprised because I also started when the market was a bit different. So I'm going through a shift like a lot of people are. And for me, it's new. So maybe for some others, it's not, you know, maybe they've already experienced these things, but just wanted to share and point that out to be aware of on any upcoming deals. It, you know, get it at 30%. Maybe your value will come in high enough or something. I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
No, that's a great tip for sharing, Tay. And I think because that can leave someone in a bind where, especially if it's close to closing. But to be honest, a lot of lenders do have an internal review, you know, and most of the time, if the appraisal comes in on target, they'll go with the appraisal. But every now and then, it's happening more frequently, it'll hit internal review, and then maybe someone on that board will vote no, you know, and there's emotions too that are tied into all of this, right? Whether we like it or not, like people get scared, and maybe that's a good thing, you know, because that can, the fear is good. It keeps us sharp, so we don't make any catastrophic mistakes. You know, if you go in with no fear, especially in these times, then like you're just asking to get slapped around, you know, and so we have to be realists, I think, you know, and try not to overreact or underreact. Try to think a couple of steps ahead, right? And make sure that, like, if you go to the lending conferences, you'll hear this word over and over and over again, you know, and it's liquidity, right? Make sure you're solvent. And if you're a house flipper, then you really gotta watch the accounts and watch the budgets and watch the time frames. You know what I mean? Because there's no cash flow in house flipping, right? So you can flip in any market, up, down, you know, sideways, but it is harder in certain times, right? And so you adjust your criteria, and you have to understand when you have the leverage. We're shifting to a buyer's market, so we shouldn't be buying at 70% of the ARV anymore. You know, I mean, I'm thinking at least 60%. And because what's so interesting is we all just came out of like one of the strongest sellers markets I've ever been a part of. And that was hard, you know, like, and for me, I didn't really feel it because like, honestly, like guys, I've been trying to downsize since 2019. You know, 2019, I thought we were top heavy already. And there's a big lesson for everybody else too. Like if you scale, right, it's not easy to roll that back sometimes, you know, especially if you get into development and projects take a long time, right? So I know sometimes we can get caught up in the buying frenzy, and you know, but gone are the days that we take skinny margins, you know, no more of that. That'll get us in trouble real fast. And then if you're flipping houses, that trouble compounds itself. All it takes is you to run long on one project, go over budget on one project, or underestimate the ARV, and then you're in the red 50 grand, you know, and that 50 grand, even if you come out of pocket to pay that 50 grand, you know, like that should be made up somewhere, you know, otherwise it's going to snowball. We call that the debt trap, you know, and I've seen it happen multiple times to very experienced investors and developers. The hotel deal that Alex is working on closing, which will be one of the biggest we've ever done. I've seen 3 developers go upside down on this hotel already. So, but our clients are the real deal, and so they're gonna make this happen. I really believe so. And I can't wait to be able to disclose this to you guys. It's gonna be awesome. Maybe we take the whole Coffee Talk crew out there for a weekend vacation or something. But thanks, Tay, for sharing. And before we move on, is there anything that you can share and that you're willing to share about the mistakes that were made in the bookkeeping? You don't have to, but maybe for another time. I think we could all learn.
Okay.
I know there's sensitive information sometimes, right? So
not really, like I don't have to get into details, but so, well, first of all, the biggest mistake was the bookkeeper was bookkeeping smart, but not REI knowledgeable.
Mhm.
And I learned that so everything, like all the ins and outs for this bookkeeper were basically income expenses, whereas when you're flipping, there's a what is it called? Cost of goods sold. COGS. Something, yeah, that. So it's not supposed to show up as an expense. What else? When you hold rentals and or Airbnbs, there's a way, at least in QuickBooks. I think Daniel's probably more qualified to talk on this, but at least the
work in
expense,
progress
the
versus the
mistakes.
cost of goods sold, right?
Right. There's that, and then so I think in QuickBooks there's a way where you can to show that you're not over leveraged to like anyone who looks at your PL statements or something. There's a way somewhere where you also put in your equity of that on your holds, anything that you're holding, to show that you're not over leveraged, so that it also looks accurately on the books that you're not negative on your rentals. What else?
It sounds like she doesn't understand like work in progress versus cost of goods sold. So those are your balance sheet and your P&L, right? So your profit and loss statement is different than your balance sheet. So you don't never want your balance sheet to cross over with your profit and loss. A rookie like accountant is just gonna think they're all the same and basically put like the balance sheet into the profit and loss, which makes it look like a huge loss. When in actuality, you're just waiting for this project to be finished, so it shouldn't be a part of the profit and loss. Is that kind of like what was happening with your stuff?
Yep, exactly. So I'm showing that I am negative like 1.5 million. I have a 1.5 million loss this year. Clearly it's not. So I was just like, hey, let's just hire someone else. So a couple months ago, I spoke to someone. She quoted me over 10 grand to clean up and then a little over $1,000 of the monthly maintenance. And every time I would acquire property, she would add $125 to her monthly thing. So I connected. This guy just reached out to me on social media and he's like, hey, I'm an investor who then went into bookkeeping because I saw like the crazy need for it. And he has a military background, so he's huge on systems and processes and being accurate, like, which I really like because that's the kind of how I like my books. So he quoted me a lot less to clean up and a little bit less on the monthly, but yeah, so that's what it's going to be like. And it's just basically them not understanding and then the loans, like every month there's a principal and an interest payment on the longer term loans that she wasn't keeping track of, and she just didn't know. So now we know.
Awesome. Well, as you learn, Tay, please share with us, because it's very important. Like, this is all the non-sexy stuff, right? Everybody that doesn't make it to TikTok and Instagram, it's actual business stuff,
And so
forget,
and the
like,
way that I found out was I was trying to get what is that called? The big loan, like I was trying to just refi all the properties into like one loan. What is that? Not an umbrella loan. Portfolio loan. Yeah. And they asked for all that, and I'm like, sure, here you go, like P&L and whatever. And they're like, you're showing negative million here. It's not happening. We will not lend to you. I'm like, what? So obviously I didn't understand. And just randomly talking to people on our network and stuff, hopping on webinars and whatever, that's when they're like, oh, you need a real estate bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Oh, Micah, Micah who lives here in Maui, a friend,
Oh, yeah.
because he does the books, right? He doesn't do the books. He's Brendan's CFO for Open Door Capital. And we have a really good relationship. I was like, Micah, can you like just look like I'm not negative $1 million? So he took like a glance and he's like, whoa, you need to change the bookkeeper, or she needs to learn REI bookkeeping, one or the other, because it's all wrong. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was the first red flag.
That's a great lesson too. We've learned too more, like I would say if you're gonna hire out, especially like an accountant, or an attorney, to have an attorney on retainer, make sure they're in real estate, and not only that, like, especially when it comes to attorneys, like we don't mess around, like we want the best and we'll pay the highest price, because we want to make sure. And sometimes the most expensive guy or the biggest name out there isn't the best fit either. You want someone who still has a great reputation. I would put it this way. You want a team behind you, a law firm or an attorney or some sort of legal counsel behind you, where their reputation in the community that you need them in is very good. And it's so much so where they could write a letter and make problems go away, like a strong letter and make problems go away. That's what Kiko and I learned, because I just had this conversation with our guys. Is like, we have to think about it this way. We live in the most litigious nation probably in the world. And on top of that, real estate and finance, which is the two industries we're in, is probably two of the most litigious industries in the most litigious nation in the world, right? So we can't mess around. That's my opinion, right? And Kiko and I, we flipped the house out in Redmond. I believe it was Redmond, Washington. And after we sold it, the buyers came back. They said we didn't disclose like some sort of flooding that happened, and they wanted 70 grand for it, and so Kiko calls me up and he's like, hey man, I just want to let you know, the buyers, they want us to pay them 70 grand. We got a letter from their attorney. I was like, you're kidding me, and I was like, this feels like a money grab. He's like, it is a money grab. It's like, we disclose everything. And I was like, all right, do we have pics and stuff? He's like, and so another lesson, take pictures of everything, document every project, okay? Because you never know if you're going to need them. You're going to need proof, right? So keep the receipts, take your pictures, like keep everything and file it away, because that saved us, right? And so we got the letter. And so either way, like if somebody's, wants to try to sue you or come after you for something, whether you're innocent or not, it's going to cost you money and a lot of stress and headaches just to fight it, so when we had to decide, okay, at that time we didn't have any attorney or any firm that we engaged in Washington. So of course we call our friends, right? We tap the network, tap shoulder. So we called Tarl, because Tarl was kind of he brought us into Seattle, kind of plugged us into his network. And Tarl put us in touch with one of the big law firm, and we were kind of debating because they're very expensive. But again, we're sticking to our, what the lessons we've learned is you get the best, right? So we send him the package. The guy, he looks at it and he sees all the pictures, all the documentation. He reads their letter and he's like, guys, I can make this go away, like with a very strong letter. It'll cost you $500. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. He said, look, they use a legal shield attorney, and he says, like, they have no grounds. We have all the proof. And in fact, if you guys want to, we can even threaten to countersue. And I was like, no, I just want this to go away, and it did. We never heard from them again, just because a strong letter with their letterhead, cost us $500, but at least we didn't have to pay 70 grand plus legal fees, you know? So that big lesson, like Tay is saying, when it comes to the professionals, whether it's CPAs or attorneys, like make sure they're specialized in your field, you know? In fact, we have a really good attorney, Mr. Timothy White. He is a good friend of mine. What's up, Tim? Sorry to put you on the spot, dude, but he is a real estate, you're an estate attorney, right?
I do estate planning and small business law.
Yep. So if
No,
anybody,
no real estate transactions, but I do conveyancing.
yep. So kind of
Only in
in the
Hawaii.
realm, right? Sometimes you got to deal with assets like that, but good to see you on, Tim. Oh, I have a question for you after. I'll tag you in, but
Okay.
Raquel, you have a question?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm new to this group. So aloha from the Big Island, from Kona. I would turn on my camera, but I have a messy room right now. So next week, I'll make sure to, then that way you can see my face. But just wanted to just say that, you know, we did our first meet and greet last night. There's a bunch of realtors or investors here on the Big Island that are interested in, you know, getting in this realm, right? So super excited about that. But to speak to Tay, one of our guest speakers is these two gentlemen from Utah flight. They flew down and they have a company called Help Me CFO. Not too sure if you folks are familiar, but they have master degrees in taxes. They used to do huge, they used to be the CFOs of huge corporations in the nation and such. And so they took it down to a smaller level and now they're doing all real estate investing taxes. So they're very familiar with cost segregation, all the ins and outs and benefits of tax strategies for real estate investors. So just wanted to throw that out there. I just signed up with them, so I can't speak as far as experience with them so far, but another gal of mine, my sister friend, Tara Shim, who's also another investor here. So she has actually recommended that I go with them. And I did, and it's been nothing but amazing. They also have experience in investing. So one guy is a tax person, the other guy is more so about investing. He has like several homes. And so it's almost like you get taxes done and coaching as well to kind of get you in the right pathway for your goals. So I will share that information in the chat box, but wanted to just thank you guys for having me on here, and I'll have my camera on next week.
Thank you so much, Raquel. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Nice. Well, let me, I was gonna ask you, Tim, how's you guys are still in St. Louis?
Still in St. Louis. Actually, just closed on a property on October 26th. It's
October
our
20. Oh,
eighth
nice.
single family home. So yeah, we
You
just
guys are up
closed.
to eight doors now?
Eight single
family?
family homes, a condo, and a third of a trailer park with 23 pads with 19 that are occupied.
Oh, wow. You guys gonna build it?
Well, it's a full-on
It's
trailer
already
park that already
operational?
has trailers. Yeah. The play on that one is it's in St. Charles. If anyone is familiar with St. Louis, St. Charles is a more affluent area, and they want the city there wants to get rid of trailer parks. So our play is to hold until they want to buy it and take it over. So we'll see how that goes. We
Nice.
just bought that in the beginning of the year, actually.
Nice.
But yeah,
Well,
what's going on?
no, I was wondering how's the market out there? That's
The
Midwest,
market out
right?
there, the Midwest, yeah, middle of the country. It is it's interesting. Just like anywhere else, the prices are starting to drop. Probably not as fast as Vegas, but they're starting to drop a little. The lenders are causing a little problem for us, at least. The bank that we use a hard money lender to purchase the properties. Then we burr these properties, so they're all burred. When we get to the permanent loan, we actually use rate and terms. But when we go to refi, the rates have jumped from, just like everyone else is having issues, but they've jumped so high in like 10 days. We got a quote for one, and then they came back and they're like, oh no, we're gonna be at this amount. And so the bank that we use currently, they were priced out of them. So we're already shopping for other brick and mortar local banks. That's how we do the BRRRR, is use brick and mortar local banks. But their interest rate for that particular bank has gone up. It's probably like 9.5% last time I talked to them, that was last month. So it's probably in the tens. So we're already shopping around. We might have to move outside of local banks and maybe even talk to you. So
Yeah. Is that a DSCR loan, Tim? Or is it
yes, they're
yeah.
DSCR loans because they're all BRRRR. So it's all based on the rents that are collected. And even though the rental market is strong, the ARVs aren't high enough, and the banks are changing their criteria because they're getting ready for economic downturn. So they don't want to hold these properties where the ARV was so high, and then now they're worth $100,000 less. That's in our case, it's like $30,000 less. But it's the rental market is still strong. So DSCR wise, the numbers still make sense to keep buying houses, which is why we keep buying them, because we're buying them at discounts. So
Yeah.
Tim, for us with our DSCR product and for everybody else on the call, we have multiple capital partners we can work with one. So if one says no, it's not the end of the world for us. We also have another capital partner that we can rate lock on DSCR loans for 45 days. So that's a great option because as you guys have experienced and will continue to experience, the rate increases are happening quick. And a lot of times your lenders aren't responding instantaneously. So the rate hike might come, like we just got that last one, but you just started your deal, they give you a quote, and then in 2 weeks they decide, you know what, hey, we actually got to raise our rates too. So that's one spot we could help out with. And then we also have a capital partner that we work with that we can do negative DSCR. So it doesn't even have to debt service. You know, especially if you're planning on carrying it, right? We carry it for a year or two, and then you're going to refi out, and then it'll be fine. You know, it just depends on how bad do you want the property, or how bad do you need the exit.
Yeah, well, we can exit. We can do the refis with the numbers they are now. It's just we want to cash out, and we want to cash out for as much as possible because that's what keeps our business going. So the current numbers that they're giving us they're net zero. So we're getting a rental. We're not making our money back for our rehabs or anything else. So we're not being able to cash out fully. And that's the problem with the rates right now.
What leverage are they cashing you out at? 70?
80.
They're going up to 80 and it's still not enough?
They're going up to 80, but then their calculation for their debt service has changed too high. And so our rents need to be like double to get what we were getting last year.
Okay.
So it just doesn't work for our numbers at the moment. But we still have multiple exit strategies. We can always just flip it and sell it. And we have exit strategies. We don't buy without multiple exit strategies.
Yeah.
But we can hold it with our hard money lenders because we have 6 months generally, and we're top borrowers with them. So we can extend if we need to and just add a couple extra percentage points and just ride out the market for a little while.
What kind of cash outs do they offer you on a completed project? Will they cash out their own deal, or will they not?
No, they just continue the hard money loan.
Well, if you get to a point and you want to do a bridge cash out to access cash, if you can, let us know. We'd love to help you out. I can go up to 75 on a cash out.
Okay. Let you guys know. We got to talk to my partner. He controls all the stuff on the ground over there. So I just look at numbers and deal with the accounting.
How is Keola doing?
He's doing good. He just came back from a conference, the one that was in Florida. I don't know which one it was. It was a big one.
Oh, yeah.
All the faster guys went down there. Yeah, all the faster guys went down there. So he went with them.
Really?
He works for Faster now. So he's doing the training program. He's mixed in with their lending. He's doing all kinds of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome too. Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys are still buying though. You're still in the game. And I guess that's kind of why it's good to be in because I've always thought of St. Louis, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really know that market, but St. Louis and a lot of the Midwest markets are flatline markets, right? Like you typically don't get appreciation. You're just in it for the cash flow. But that's kind of why I'm Alex, can you mute, bro? I think that's kind of why the DSCR still kind of works out there, because everywhere else, in the different on the coastal areas, I mean, DSCR kind of never really worked where it's higher dollar. But when you have like a price increase and an interest rate increase, until that starts to balance itself out and correct, like those are the two things that kill DSCR, right? High price and high interest costs, because then typically there's no cash flow, right? We do have capital partners who will do negative DSCR, but you got to really think too if you want to get into a deal that's negative cash flow. You know, like, is it really
and like you said earlier, it's that debt trap, right? We don't want to get into that. So if it doesn't work, the numbers don't work, we just sell the asset and move on to the next thing.
Yep. And you said it best, dude. Guys, we gotta have multiple exit strategies. You know, like if the deal doesn't work with two options, like maybe just bail, because there's gonna be the next deal. I'm telling you, you know, like many of us, myself included, have never felt the weight of a true buyer's market, you know, but it's coming. And it depending on, you know, how much work you put in and how much, you know, like resources you're able to gather together in time, like, and if you don't have it, like align yourselves with the people who do, you know, and find a way to provide value to get in on that. Because after this one, who knows how long the next bull run's gonna be, you know, like we just came out of the longest expansion in the US history when it comes to the housing market. And I mean, we might see a nice correction or recession here, and who knows how long the next bull run's gonna be, right? So I think the next few years are going to be very interesting, and I hope to see everybody making smart moves, you know, on the way to take advantage of where we are in the market cycle across the nation. But we've been waiting for this, right? So anybody have anything to share in markets that they're in, that they're seeing maybe, you know, other things, you know, maybe the market's not correcting as much? I don't think so. I think I think only Puerto Rico, man. That's where we're looking next, right, Alex? Yeah. There's a lot of action going on in Puerto Rico. So, and I think from Alex's conversation he had with someone who's out there heavy is Puerto Rico is going to be the next boom, and like the institutions and the capital markets are starting to look that way, you know, because I don't know if you guys know what's going on in Puerto Rico, but I believe it was Trump that instilled the tax code out there where it incentivizes people to buy property there and live there, primary residence in Puerto Rico, and it's huge tax advantages. So the big money is moving there. Like we have people in our network that have already moved, you know, and
what is his name? The guy flipping Mastery. What is his name?
Oh, Jerry Norton. Oh yeah, Jerry Norton.
He did that, yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Puerto Rico now. Yeah, we're probably gonna go see him actually.
And he sold his home to Pace Morby on sub-2. And
he did?
Yeah,
I didn't know
he
that.
didn't pay. I don't know how that works, but yeah, no taxes.
That's actually really smart, because you have to buy another property of equal or greater value and live there for 6 months out of the year to take advantage of the tax credits. But the tax credits are huge. I mean, Alex was saying that you can sell your credits, right?
There's the possibility of selling credits, but that's more so selling credits on projects that you're doing, because they're giving huge tax credits for doing development and building there. But the personal gain is essentially like you go from your federal goes down to 3%. You pay 3% federal tax, and then your income as like a state income would be over there. You're paying 3%, so you're in for 6% taxes annually on all your income. So it's a huge tax incentive to take people down there. But like Corey was mentioning, your primary residence, whatever it is in the US or whatever it was, like Jerry, I'm sure can't get around, even though he did for sale by owner, he's not going to be able to get around the value of that home because his last primary was that. He has to have an equal value of primary residence in Puerto Rico. So they're not just letting guys that, you know, own $20 million homes go down there and buy, you know, $1 million condo and be like, hey, you know, this is my primary residence now. No, so like you actually have to build something of equal value to what you were living in before you moved and switched to your primary. And you only have 2 years once you become a citizen to have that on, or you don't qualify for the tax break.
So Kekoa also mentioned that because he's in the inner circle or something of the Tony Robbins stuff. And so that's where they bring in all their experts and stuff. And 2 people from our network, Kenji and Leite, are actually, they moved out to Puerto Rico. And I always wondered why did they do that? Well, they're in the inner circle with Tony Robbins too, you know, so they actually got a whole year head start because they're in the inner circle, you know. And so Kekoa is now in there too, and he's giving us all the details, you know. And Puerto Rico, because of the tax advantages, is going to be a booming market. I feel, you know, I think that might be the only market, and it's not even in the US, it's like a US territory, right? That's might be in an expansion mode during this downturn. So we're gonna look heavy in Puerto Rico to see what's going on there, and then we'll report back because this is straight from Jerry Norton's mouth. He's like, guys, just imagine Hawaii before it was Hawaii, you know, before it was Hawaii prices, before the Waikikis and the, you know. So he's like, Puerto Rico, like right now. So he's like the 4th guy who is obviously someone who you want to take their word seriously. You know, he's highly experienced, he's very knowledgeable, and a great guy. So like, of course, and he's like the 4th person that we know is saying Puerto Rico. So, and in fact, Alex is working on closing a big hotel deal out there too, just out of coincidence, you know. So there's a lot of money moving out there to Puerto Rico. And if you guys want to, yeah, stay tuned, you know, maybe there's opportunity for all of us. Get in on a property like Hawaii before it becomes Hawaii. It already is kind of getting there.
That sounds like a really great place to start, like resort development kind of stuff. Because if a lot of people are moving out there themselves and they're bringing all that money, you know, and now you've suddenly got this market before the land values all go up, and the cost of development of something like that becomes less feasible. But then you're balling with your own like Waikiki, and it'll be like the new Waikiki, Waikiki
Right.
2.0. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and I think they
That's
said
exciting.
like, what was it, Alex? Like 70,000 applicants or something in the last year or?
This year they had 70,000 applicants for citizenship.
Wow, year to date.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I
word
think
is
we
not
should all
even
get
out
together
there.
and develop a resort.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Well, man, I can't believe it's 11 o'clock already. Does anybody have anything else they want to add, or any insight, information? All righty. Well, I just asked Layla a question, but I don't think she's checking the chat. I gotta get permission first, but
Sorry, I'm looking. Hold on.
okay. Just say yes or no.
I don't think we have one anymore.
Oh, for real? Well, we'll see. Ah, dang
Hey,
it.
Corey, I had a quick question just before we wrap up. Like, you know, what do you look at as a really good guide for making these offers? I know, you know, I've heard you guys say stick to the fundamentals, 70% minus repairs, or, you know, you need so much cash flow per door. Are you guys lowering those thresholds for your offers now? Is it maybe 60% minus repairs? Like, to kind of make sure you're not going to end up, you know, in a pinch, because we all know everything's going down. Like, you know,
Oh.
Daniel, Tristan, like, how are you guys doing it?
I think, well, the 70% minus repairs never worked for me for some reason. Like that was too aggressive during the markets that we were in. And then now it's kind of, it's really arbitrary because, so the way I mean, I would say run full numbers, you know, of course, but if you have to make quick offers and you're not wasting time kind of going down to the property if you're not under contract, right? Then I would say like 60%, you know, of the ARV, but you also want to know like whatever market you're playing in, like try to pull the, like what is the percent that the properties rose in value during 2021? Because we all know that a lot of that was kind of fake inflation, like that's fake equity that was built in just due to, you know, the stimulus and all the money that was out there. Find out what that number is. I believe Hawaii was 20% roughly, you know, so and then it's up to you to think like, okay, if I know like we went up 20% in the year and that's like abnormal growth, perhaps maybe 15% of that is fake equity, then maybe you got to cut your ARVs. You don't have to necessarily cut it by 15%, but I would at least do half, you know, just because you know that we have to assume and prepare for the worst. So assuming that your values that are showing now may drop another 5, 10, 15% maybe by the time you exit, right? And then I always look at how heavy is the rehab, because if I'm buying, let's say at 65% of the ARV, that's just a preliminary checkbox I always do. It's like, okay, what is the percentage I'm buying of my ARV? Yeah, and if it's at 65%, then I really think like, okay, I want to be at 60 right now, but I also don't want to price myself out of a solid deal. So then you look at how much was the fake equity, and then bring down the ARV a little bit even more so, and then see if it's still worth it for you, you know? So, but definitely, I mean, we're changing criteria for sure. Like, actually, even though we haven't bought anything like ourselves since like 2019, you know, we've partnered on deals, we've got into other stuff. We haven't, now coming in, it's a different market, you know, and we are going to come in and buy a lot, but we're going to buy with different criteria, especially if you're flipping houses. If it's long-term, then I feel you definitely, you should crunch your boxes a little bit in your criteria, but a long-term, you know, really, we just got to ride it out. As long as it can cash flow pretty decent, you know, and you're buying it with instant appreciation, so instant equity, I think you'll be fine, you know. So, but flipping houses for sure, you got to change your criteria, because otherwise you won't even get financed, you know, like Tay was saying, right? Daniel, how about you?
I think like first of all, I think like that 70% or 65%, I think that's just like the 1% rule, where it's like a rule of thumb to kind of like quickly glance at a deal. But like when you're actually analyzing deal, you actually have to analyze your numbers, right? So you have to plug into your Excel spreadsheet, your actual costs, all your holding costs, etc. I think for us, what we're doing is the ARV is just a way more complicated thing to calculate right now, just because like the houses are not equal, right? So like if one house has a funky driveway or one house has like a loud noise in the back, now these like little subtle things are gonna make a big difference in how much they're selling, because the buyers, there's less buyers on the back end. So then you like all these little subtle things are gonna factor into your ARV. So I think calculating your ARV is gonna be a lot more complicated or tricky, knowing like if you have like a cookie cutter house and like the perfect driveway, like a good yard, all these things, like that's exactly what a buyer wants. You put up a good quality product, you probably might get like the like close to, I mean, like the current comps or whatever, right? But like little small things are things now you have to actually consider or take into account. So just I think calculating your ARV, knowing the little nuances of the neighborhood and the town and the buyers is gonna make a big difference when you're calculating the ARV. And another thing is I think just like logging your holding times, expect it not to sell right off the bat. You might have to sit for a month, you might have to sit for 2 months, and then potentially price drop, whatever. So I think as long as you calculate your ARVs and your holding times appropriately, I think you'll be in like pretty good shape. But just that ARV calculation is gonna be a lot more complicated now. So.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. That was a great question, Roger, because that's very important right now, I think, you know, and I love that. I love what you said, because like I never thought of that. It's like when you go to sell now, the little things that used to not matter are going to be felt exponentially. Right? Like if it's on a steep driveway, before people be like, whatever, I can deal with it, I guess. But now when buyers have many to choose from, because it's a buyer's market, it's gonna matter. You know, like buyers have the right now and they have the leverage to be picky, right? And maybe they don't like the driveway, but they like the house. They're gonna ask you for a credit. You know, it's like, I kind of wasn't expecting this. It's, you know, it's probably gonna wear and tear my truck or whatever, going up the driveway and down the driveway. So I need 20 grand credit right now, you know, like, or we walk. And then as the seller, it's kind of like, well, shoot, like, don't walk, you know, please don't walk. So we're gonna get squeezed on the back end if you're flipping houses, you know, and if you're gonna refi, you might get squeezed by the appraised value, right? So again, multiple exit strategies. Take advantage of when you have the leverage, which right now is in most markets on the buy side. And then I love that what you just said, Daniel, because I never thought of that when you're the seller in a buyer's market, all the little stuff is going to matter even more, you know, so we just got to be conscious of that. Great.
Yeah,
Great.
and sorry.
Thanks.
And I, as far as I know too, they're expecting these interest rate increases to go through the end of 2023. So even further, it could reduce the number of buyers in the market that have true buying power. And so either you're going to have to wait a lot longer for somebody to come along that can buy it, or make it amazing, or discount it to get it sold.
I heard that too from, so you're the second person that I heard that. I forget where I heard that from. I shook it off the first time I heard that because I was like, there ain't no way we can continue this to the end of 2023. And shoot, maybe I gotta start looking into that. I don't know what that life's gonna look like, guys. You know, we gotta we gotta put our heads together, because if they are looking, if they're forecasting that, oh, that's gonna be painful, man. So
Yeah, and
thanks, Joe.
what I've seen too is, yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Thanks for that. Cause like I heard that from someone else, and and hearing it again now, I gotta look into that because we gotta see the forecast come in.
Yeah, and ideally, so what they're planning on doing, right? But there's always the plan, and then there's like what actually happens, right? So and you really can't predict the future. I mean, who knows? Like, nobody expected COVID to come when it came, right? And so like this could every forecast is always subject to change within the next 24 hours, you know. But as far as what they're planning, the idea is that they're likely going to raise it through the end of 2023, but the rate that they'll increase it will decrease. So at least the hikes will come, but it'll kind of, you know,
smaller.
Yeah. So that's a good thing, but it's just something to keep in mind, like to, you know, think, okay, when I'm, you know, for the ARV of this property, either I have to already assume that it's going to decrease even further, or, you know, you can anticipate some kind of super amazing differentiating factor that you can do to make it more valuable, or, you know, you also could just expect to wait because there's less buyers out there in the market who can afford to buy that house, even if it is the right value.
Yeah. And that's, again, like going back to the fundamentals, right? If we look at the three forms of appreciation that we get as real estate investors, is instant appreciation, forced appreciation, and market appreciation, right? So right now, I think we can all assume that we're not going to get market appreciation, but we don't we don't take that into account anyways, usually, right? As real estate investors, like savvy, disciplined, right? We never use market appreciation because nobody controls we can't control the market. Now forced appreciation is great, but it's not the best form, right? The best form of appreciation is instant appreciation, which is you buy right, you buy in the money. And exactly what Roger is saying, changing your criteria. So even in markets like this, when you buy, you're in the money, right? And it's got to be something super catastrophic for you to lose money on that deal. Plus you have multiple exit strategies, you know, so that's how you identify a solid deal. Now we have to be careful because in a buyer's market, you're typically you'll be flooded with deals, you know, but when you really peel back the layers in there, it may not be a deal, right? Because the market is changing fast still. So it might look like a deal because we're coming out of a strong seller's market where it's very hard to see something like that. But when you look back and you see the grand scheme of things and where the market's heading, it may not, it may be in a threat disguised as an opportunity, you know, so just be careful. Make sure that you're buying right. And we're relying primarily on instant appreciation, right? Instead of forced appreciation. If we get market appreciation, great, but I don't think anyone can bank on that right now. But forced appreciation, yes, but don't make your decisions on, like, if you're buying a property, right, and you think it's a deal, but the only way that deal works is if, like, oh, hi sis, it's mini Rajik. The only way that you get yourself in a deal is if you get instant appreciation, you know. So forced appreciation is the next best. But if your deal relies heavily or solely on forced appreciation, it's not a deal in this market, you know. So for example, let's say it's a fix and flip property, right? But in order for the deal to be a good deal, you have to build a second story, right? No deal. It's not a deal. You know, it's either got to be a deal from when you buy it or not right now. That's how I feel. So if your deal, you're relying on forced appreciation more than any form of appreciation, that especially instant appreciation, then in my opinion, it's not a deal worth taking, you know, because it's too risky right now in this environment. You have to take advantage of instant appreciation. And the beautiful thing about being in a buyer's market is that you have all the leverage to take advantage of the best form of appreciation, which is instant appreciation. You know what I mean? In a strong seller's market, the best form, our favorite form of appreciation is taken away from us because we don't have the leverage in a strong seller's market to get instant appreciation. But in a strong buyer's market, that's why they say, like, you know, real estate investors and developers and entrepreneurs in general who understand the fundamentals, especially real estate, of investing, a buyer's market is when we make the most money and we grow our wealth. You know, this might be the last hurrah for some of us who really, you know, are disciplined and take charge of this opportunity. It might be the last go around, you know. You might be able to just sit back and maybe lend to us here on the call. Yeah. So let's be on the right side of this one, you know, and take advantage of instant appreciation, especially because in a buyer's market, that's the easiest thing to get right now is instant appreciation. So does anybody else have anything before we kind of log off? I was actually gonna see if I could offer, because we had a extra ticket, actually a couple extra tickets for Ignite, and it's last minute, but we're gonna give them away. But Layla thinks that we're all out of them now, so I'm gonna go look. And if we do have an extra one, maybe we'll do an email blast to everybody. If anybody's able and willing to join us out in Ignite, we'd love to have you. So, anyways, I hope everybody has a great weekend. And hope everyone had a great Halloween weekend. Last time, don't eat too much candy. Happy Aloha Friday, and we'll see you guys next week. Aloha, everybody. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Tay.